All right, everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and I just want to give you guys a huge thank you. Yesterday's video, at the time of recording, where we talked about the worst farms in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes was awesome. Love to see your guys' engagement on that, and I wanted to kind of branch off of that for a second and talk about something that I completely missed in the comments, and that was how many of you said how difficult it is to farm Mundi. And I'm going to say that this is an area of the game where I have really failed you guys, that I unfortunately just have kind of lost touch with how hard this guy is to get, because I played at a time when building clones for Mundi was like a requirement to get into any guild, and Rise of the Empire has kind of completely changed that and replaced them with Inquisitors, and forcing a lot of you to kind of be in this position to farm Mundi with Guild Event Currency 3. We're going to talk about that today. I'm going to give you guys some of my thoughts, kind of show you some information that you may be going about farming Mundi completely the wrong way as a guild. So like, subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Let's give a huge shout out to our channel members. Thank you guys for your continued support. If you're ever interested in joining, that link is always in the channel description down below, along with a link to the Discord server, where these guys have their own special section where they get to ask me questions, advice, and a lot of times it's not even just a, hey Phil, like, is there a roster review, but they get to ask me like, hey Phil, is this mod worth buying? Who should I put this on? What do I do here? What do I do there? Like, that day-to-day stuff, they get, exclusive access. So thank you guys again. Let's go to our, let's go over to the game, the introduction, and then we'll get into this. Alright, so, Mundi. Now, for the most part, what I'm going to tell you is this character is a luxury. Right? I think we can be perfectly honest with ourselves that Mundi, for the most part, is luxury. Especially because outside of light side Geonosis territory battles, like I can't even get him right now, but you can only get him with Guild Event Currency 3 when he rotates in that store outside of his mission. So he's definitely a luxury type character. He's not required for anything. He does make Galactic Republic Jedi significantly better. But that's a big thing here, is that his unique, right? As good as it is, it's basically a mini leadership. It's if all allies are Galactic Republic Jedi. And that's a big deal, right? That is a very limiting part. So it doesn't mean that he's not good outside of that, but it does limit how good he is, and that's why I call him luxury. So for me, his primary use is Qui-Gon Jinn in Grand Arena, right? That's his primary use. Outside of that, I don't get a ton of use out of him. And I can use him in some different Jedi teams for game modes like Conquest, or when I was doing light side GOTB, I got to use him in some capacity there, but most of the time, he just sits on the bench. But that has completely changed with Keller and Beck. Keller and Beck being in the game now has given Mundi a lot more purpose, and I think a lot more players are feeling the need to go get him because of teams like Keller and Beck, where Keller and Beck not only is great in territory wars with his Omicron, but even without it, he's solid, and that gives you a full nother Galactic Republic team, a whole nother Jedi team to use in Conquest to help you earn feats. So I think that with Keller and Beck, Mundi is kind of going through this luxury, kind of transitioning from a luxury type character into more of a staple. So with that, it becomes a big question of, do you start having to buy Mundi with your Get 3, or do you do light side GOTB? And all you were thinking, oh, Phil, why would I ever stop doing Rise of the Empire? Well, a lot of that is going to depend on how many shards for Mundi you can earn in a light side Geonosis territory battle. We're actually going to flip over to a Google spreadsheet in a second where I broke this down, and I'm going to show you guys some surprising data here. But these are kind of the two main squads that you can get those shards with. I'm not sure on Omega. I know with her Omicron, she makes it a cakewalk. I'm not sure without it. And the other side of that is I think you can throw like Arc Trooper in here, or even Shock T, and potentially get some good wins. And the other side of this, I'm not sure the impact that Captain Rex has to this battle. I don't know if putting him with Bad Batch is a good Omega replacement. I don't know that he replaces anybody up here. I'm just not sure. I think he has some good parts of his kit, but again, I'm not sure, and so I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, go build Captain Rex for this. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is if you build these clone troopers and you get them to that Relic 7 threshold, you then have them available for the Zepho special mission when your guild does unlock that in Rise of the Empire. So don't think that by building clones, they're not going to help you in any other capacities. They're going to be able to get you some additional Get 2 when your guild is able to get to Zepho, which should be a priority for a lot of guilds who take Rise of the Empire seriously. So let's flip over to this Google spreadsheet. And we're going to show you some very surprising data that I don't know if everybody is fully prepared for here. Give me one moment while I get this ready. All right, come on now, show me this. There we go. All right. So here's the spreadsheet. So I have a couple of notes down here that I'll scroll down for a bit, but I like where my face is. So your cost for a Ki-Adi-Mundi shard comes down to 425 guild event currency per shard. Right, you see here, 2,125 for 5 shards, that comes out to 425. To put it in perspective of, hey, how many stars do I need to get to earn 5 Ki-Adi-Mundi shards in Rise of the Empire? It's 9 stars. If you don't believe me, I have the Swago wiki page here, and when you scroll down, you can see that at earning 8 stars, you don't earn enough guild event currency 3. So I pulled these right from the Swago wiki page. So right there is 5 KAM shards. That's going to take you 66 territory battles. Just again, which would be 33 months. With in terms of like light side geo, right? It would take you 33 months here. It'd actually take you what, like 66, I think. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember how this math worked out. What did I do? I said, oh yeah. So basically what this means is that if you were to get, sorry guys, I had to remind myself here. So this LS Geo equivalent says, hey, 33 months of light side GOTB means your guild is earning 10 Ki-Adi-Mundi shards per light side Geonosis territory battle. So let that kind of sink in. Can your guild get 10 successful runs in Ki-Adi-Mundi? That's basically the equivalent of getting here. To get 10 shards, you need to get 23 stars. To get 10 Ki-Adi-Mundi shards with all of your get 3. This is assuming you're spending all of your guild event currency through on Ki-Adi-Mundi. It's going to take you 33 months to complete that, 33 TBs, which is 17 months. Again, the equivalent here would be getting 20 Ki-Adi-Mundi shards per light side Geonosis territory battle. Remember, Rise of the Empire happens twice a month, and light side Geonosis is a once a month that rotates with dark side. And we'll get into why that's going to be an important thing to consider here. Then you need to get 15 KAM shards, you need to get 37 stars. If you want to buy 20, you need to get 51 Rise of the Empire stars. And the max that you can get is 55 stars, where you're going to earn this much guild event currency. And just to show you guys that, look, if I'm getting the maximum amount of stars in Rise of the Empire, it's still going to take me almost 8 months of only using my guild event currency to get Ki-Adi-Mundi. 8 months of using all of those Rise of the Empires that I did, all of that currency going into Ki-Adi-Mundi, going to take me almost 8 months. If you look at the light side Geonosis equivalent, if your guild can earn 42, 43 shards, which is not unheard of. Like for a lot of guilds, I would say my old guild, that's about what we averaged, was we are averaging over 40 Ki-Adi-Mundi shards. There is some elements of RNG there, but I think realistically most guilds can earn above 40 shards if they're, following the strategies, changing mods, streaming. You can easily get there. But just consider that the doing a light side Geo once a month in place of a Rise of the Empire can actually be a really good decision if you're only looking at buying Ki-Adi-Mundi shards. Obviously, the rewards in total change, but let me show you something. If your guild even earns 25 Ki-Adi-Mundi shards, right? You earn 25. If you multiply that by the 425 that it costs in Get 3, you earned the equivalent of 10,000 Get 3. So in 1 TB, you earned 10,000. That's more than the maximum stars from Rise of the Empire, the equivalent, if all you're doing is turning around and buying Ki-Adi-Mundi shards. That's insane to me. Like, I don't think enough guilds recognize that, yes, Rise of the Empire is good, and the rewards are inherently better in Rise of the Empire than they are light side Geonosis. But that's assuming that you're actually using that Get 3 to purchase things that are not just Ki-Adi-Mundi shards. Because going to buy KAM shards, or going and doing one LS Geo a month, light side Geo a month, doing one of those a month, and being able to earn 25, and look at 40. 17,000 guild event currency 3. 17,000 guild event currency 3 if your guild earns 40 shards. That is an obscene amount of guild event currency that you're saving yourself. Like, this is that one right here. This is that situation. You get 40 in light side Geonosis, and it's the equivalent of earning 51 stars twice in, Rise of the Empire. So my advice for a lot of guilds is that if you're in this position where you think you need to be purchasing Karimundi, like you're like, hey, we're going to purchase Karimundi, I would take a poll of your guild. And I would ask yourselves the question of, hey, how many Rise of the Empire stars are you getting? And I'd say most of you are going to be probably in this range, where Karimundi's a big concern for a lot of guilds, are probably more in this range of being able to purchase 10 Karimundi shards per TV. Because, like, my guild is in this range, right? Like, we're a little bit above this range. And we all have I think almost everybody has a 7-star Karimundi. And if we don't, like, hey, we're not going to go back and run it because most people do. But you see that, most guilds are probably in this range where, hey, if you can get 20 light side, 20 Karimundi shards, like, it's the same as what you're doing now, right? Except that your next Rise of the Empire that you do in place of Dark Side Geonosis is money in the bank, right? You can either use those to get a few more Karimundi shards, or you can even just use those to purchase gear and better your roster. So, again, and just a couple notes down here that I wrote. So, remember, if your guild can earn more shards than your get 3 amount, you're better doing light side geo. I completely, have been saying that, right? Now, this does not take into consideration any of the bonus rewards like Zepho or other special missions. Does not consider, like, again, remember, you do get a better increase in your rewards from doing Rise of the Empire. But if you're able, like, if your guild is only able to get, say, 20 Karimundi shards over the course of a light side, or if you're only able to get, like, 10 Karimundi shards over the course of a single light side GOTB, and you can earn this many stars, you're probably better off doing Rise of the Empire. But it's when your guild is capable of earning more shards than your Rise of the Empire equivalent that you move on, right? And then that, again, showing this. And the other side of the situation is it does not take into consideration if your guild's getting Riva shards. So make sure Riva shards are playing, into consideration here. Riva, obviously a much better character than Karimundi. But I hope this kind of sheds light onto the situation that is Karimundi. That I think most guilds, they kind of get, I'm going to catch flack for this, but it's the truth. They catch Arsenal syndrome, where they compete in the Champions League for the first time in 10 years. You get right into Rise of the Empire, and you think that you're back to the, one of the biggest, baddest clubs in Europe when, it's a good achievement to make the Champions League. But, do you really belong there? Yeah, we're asking some tough questions, right? And I get it. I know it's rich coming from a Chelsea fan, but we've got some European trophies and you guys have 0. So just eat that. But my whole point here is just because you can do Rise of the Empire doesn't mean that it's always the wisest decision, especially when you're getting into the higher amounts of KAM. Now, just bear in mind, when I say, hey, 40 successful completions, like, hey, getting 40 KAM shards, that doesn't mean that you have 40 people in your guild that are capable of earning Karimundi. That means that you have the ability with maybe, say, with like an 80% win rate. Like, think, if everybody in your guild is capable of attempting the Karimundi mission, to get 40 shards means an 80% completion rate. So that's pretty, that's pretty solid, right? So again, like going through like 20 or 25 shards, ask the question, do you have enough people with a 70, 80% win rate that you can earn this amount of shards? That's the real question at hand. So I want you to consider that. I want you to think about it because it is a big deal of, hey, how many shards can we realistically get? And maybe you run it once. Again, make sure you pull your guild because you don't want people joining your guild thinking you're going to do Rise of the Empire and then you're doing light side geo and they're like, yeah, I'm bouncing. Make sure that you communicate this with your guild, see what they want. But this is my advice for Karimundi. I think a lot of you probably should be still doing Rise or light side Geonosis if you have the potential to earn these shards because you're saving yourself way more guild event currency 3 in the long run. So that's the video. Let me know your thoughts. I will link this spreadsheet in the description down below. Go ahead, guys. Wampa is king in the comments. I love you all. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.